This is good. This is very good. Obviously, this is going to go fantastically because I tried to film going through a stack of books that I ordered before, and it obviously went brilliantly. So, well, now I'm going to put it on. I'm going to upload them so they're there, and I'm not going to fidget and touch my face the whole time, and I'm not going to look directly at my own face the whole time, but I might. Oh, I'm not. So I'm going to go through this stack of books that I made, that I said to myself and to other people, that I'm going to make a stack of 20 books to read down the list without jumping to a different book if I get bored halfway through, and without buying any other new books the whole time that I do it. I think 20 books will take me a few months. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick. But I've bought so many books this year that it's ridiculous. I just I'm not reading as much as I should, equating to how many I'm buying. It's so horrible. It's like I'm confessing to a crime. And don't know how anyone does this comfortably. But anyway, I'm going to go for it because, you know, because, yeah. And then I can go back over them after I've read them. Maybe not one at a time, because I think it would just be boring and miserable. I can't say that much about 20 books. But there's some cool ones in here. And there's things to be talked about and discussed. This is majoritively for my friends. No, not anyone else. But I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna put it up. Could make a new friend. Who knows? That's painfully sweet and quaint. So the first two books are both enormous. And I've started reading both of them before, and this one I've been reading for a while in drips and drabs. This is like, I think one of the lesser known Ursula Le Guin. But it's really cool, and I thought it was good to read bit by bit because it is constructed through a series of like poems and stories and just random bits of writing to build this story about a, you know, culture in the far future that's kind of primitive. It's really cool. And this, I wanted to read Chomsky for a long time, so I started reading this, and obviously it's like a bit dense and it's like talks and interviews and things that it's constructed from. But just to get through these and get out of the way, and also to make it easier for myself, I'm going to read halfway through this, then come and read halfway through the rest of this, and then swap back and finish them both. That's the first two. Then it's this, Practice of Not Thinking, which I've started reading 3 times and never been able to finish it, or never been able to get that far. I don't know, I just lost the plot, lost my thread. But it's only a tiny book, and you know, I almost read half of it the last time I was reading it recently, so I'm going to go back and finish that. This Van Vogt, Children of Tomorrow, I've tried to read. I read a bit. It's just, I just don't really think it's quite my cup of tea. But I want to read it because it's been sitting there and it's not that big. I can definitely do it, and I will. Then I've got this, another sci-fi bester that I've heard about, and sounds really cool, sounds really weird. And it does sound like it'll be up my alley. Hopefully it doesn't, you know, it always sounds like something you would like, but then you read it and it might not be that good, like from reading it. I've read this recently, Rourke, and I just loved it. I think, you know, I like the way he writes. So, but that also sounded like something I'd like. Then I'm going to go for this. Crazy, God only knows, Temporary Autonomous Zones, Ontological Anarchy and Poetic Terrorism. Yeah, the Temporary Autonomous Zone. That's why I bought it, because I'd heard about, I don't know if I'd heard about this book specifically, but the idea of temporary zones propped up in a couple of other things that I'd read that I really liked. Just as a concept, it's good. And it's applicable, weirdly, to a lot of other things, like science fiction-y things, like Roadside Picnic, which is back here. Those are temporary autonomous zones in Roadside Picnic. Then I'm going to read this. Am I going to read this, or am I going to start reading it and get so, just, I don't know, bogged down? This is huge. This is another monster, and it's different essays, bits of writing about race and fossil fuels. Essentially, I think the what would you say, intersections there between issues about race, is that right, or geopolitics, and obviously about race. That's what's white skin, black fuel. But I've not even started it. I don't know if you know what it's going to be like. Andreas Malm, does he even write any of it? If he's just editing it, collecting it. It's a collective of writers, I think. Maybe they'll all write a different part, a different essay. Definitely, you know, something I'm interested in that I've already read too many things about. So, but not for a while. So it'd be good to jump back into that. I've had this for a while and I've not read it because it's such a massive undertaking. Most of these are things I've had for a while and I've not tried to read yet because they're just slightly daunting, or, you know, or I have tried to read them and they've gone to one side. This I've had for a while. Not necessarily daunted by it. It's not a small book or short, but it's slightly out of my comfort zone. Very old, but like Monkey and Journey to the West. It's Journey to the West, Journey to the East. The story is influential and in lots of places and things, and I'm looking forward to reading it. And but I think I'm like worried I won't like it. Hopefully I will, and I'm you know. And then from there, I've got a new book, Barry Malzberg, which I've heard about from Book Pilled on YouTube. And it's like an author, I like an author that you don't really know and you don't really hear about, and then someone convinces you that, like, it's essential to read and try. I'm not sure if this is one of his, like, best, but it sounds bizarre and cool. And I want a science fiction book to be weird like that. Definitely. We're very gravelly. This is also a fairly new one that I bought, that I just selected kind of without really knowing what books were good, about Rojava, which, you know, will kind of connect to some of these other books in a way. Some of the, you know, don't know. I just, you know, hear about it a lot in a lot of things that I read, but have no, not a very good understanding of it. I'm not sure whether this will be a fantastic, like, encompassing history or what, but it looks good. It sounds good. And that'll be somewhere to start on a topic, geopolitical topic. My God. I don't know how many that is. The next pile. Oh my gosh. The next pile is Philip K. Dick. That I picked up a while ago. Haven't, read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Read 36 Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, which was amazing. And definitely I preferred it a lot more to Androids. Just the kind of like trippier, scarier, cerebral thing. And I don't know where this will be in between those or either side of those, but it sounds very good. There's just so many Philip K. Dick books to pick up and choose from, and I just found this one and kind of like this very like 90s edition of it. Gallant. That's the next one. Had this for a while as well. Goblin Hood, just like a load of writing about being a goblin. Like ages ago it was Goblin Mode. It's the word of the year or something. This comes like just after that. I'm sure it'll be funny, or I hope it'll be funny and light-hearted, but also kind of interesting. I like a kind of what do you call it? Like a social, not criticism, but theorizing, but in like a light-hearted way. I think is good. Not too dense and heavy. The next one is a weird one, which is a thin novel, which I found somewhere, like, this is a few years ago that I bought this, surely. No idea. I don't think I would have ever heard about this author anywhere else, but it just sounded and looked really interesting and weird, and it sounds kind of, scary and odd. I'm looking forward to reading it, because it's been sat there for ages and I've denied reading it. See if I like it. The next one is Nietzsche, Zarathustra, which I read 80 pages of, so I got about a third of the way through, or less than a third of the way through. It's just mental. I want to go back and read it and finish it, so if I put it in this pile and I make it a grueling challenge, then I'll hopefully do it, and I'll become a very astute intellectual. Russell Hoban. I read Ridley Walker years ago, and that I just still think of as like one of my favourite books at all that I've read, but definitely one of my favourite science fiction books. And no one seems to talk about Russell Hoban, or I don't see anyone talking about him. But these are like new printings. Penguin 2021, they're not that new. But I remember I read that book, and then I found in a bookshop like loads of these new Penguin ones, like of his, and I read another one. Something about Orpheus, which is like the Greek myth, right? I don't know or understand anything about that. But that was good as well. This is like my alleyway. Like funny, weird science fiction. But also not science fiction, kind of like magical realism, because it's not like spacey or the other ones. weren't like spacey. They're very, well, yeah, ignore me. Then I've got this in the list. I didn't want to just make a stack of 20 books and to pick randomly at them. I want to force myself to go down the list so that I have no excuse to finish something. So it was weird to order this list and to select the books. I just looked at everything and just started picking things out and just went like, I mean, I could do like 100 books probably. Well, I definitely could. I've got loads behind me. I could do over 100 books. But this is like 20. I think that's a good number. It'll be a few months. I can't get away from them. Pardon me. Can't get away from them. Wendell Berry is like fantastic. And I always talk about the essay about when he didn't want to buy a computer and trying to argue that computers were stupid and you don't need them or shouldn't have them, and he didn't want them, and why that's a valuable argument. And like now it seems so ridiculous, but back when computers were first coming out, it was like a valid criticism or like, you know, a stance. But now it's not a stance at all. You can't say like, oh, I don't want a computer, you know, live without them. But triple coffee everywhere. But I think it's important to argue about obvious things, inextractable parts of daily life. And loads of these were good. They were all good, like little essays and bits of writing, but I just fell off. So I'm going to pick it back up. Hopefully when I'm reading this, it'll be nice and cold and wintry. Perfect for that. And then I think good to follow with this, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I think it's I think it's a load of different pieces of writing, stitching together like the myth and the legend. Yeah, there's the main thing, which is a poem, and then there's just loads of stuff in the back. I guess talking about it as a legend. But yeah, I don't read enough things like this. And I've got loads, like the Iliad, and I'd like to reread the Odyssey because I only read it when I studied it. I'd like to go back and read all of those like really old books and things, or songs and poems and stuff, and avoid them. And then I'm gonna go from that nice place to a heavy, difficult place again, another whopper. I'm not sure how I feel about these enormous books. You can't really take them anywhere. Can't put them in your back pocket. And this is Andreas Malm again. Had this for months, maybe over a year. I don't know. Well, I mean, loads of it we can get rid of because it's just the note section. But it's a big, and it's going to be long. It's going to take me a while. But if like things like this that I try to read, even smaller ones, end up like slowing down reading anything else or stopping it, and it's like a month and all that I've read is like this. But there's got to be a way to make it go faster. Not that you want to burn through it and not take any of it in. Most of the time you can't take any of this in. But it's just like a history of steam power, and then leading into just, yeah, fossil fuel extraction. And I think it'll be good and it'll be interesting. I'll find it interesting. 2 left. Rachel Cusk. This is a novel I read. What was the book I read of hers that was non-fiction? And I really liked it. And you can't walk past these books, these covers, and not want to pick them up and read them. And then finish with a really heavy one, The Art of Cruelty. I love Maggie Nelson. I like everything that I've read of hers. I've loved. And I've had this one for a while. And I've got no reason not to read it. And hopefully, if I read this at the end, I'll either find it really heavy and difficult, and I'll be happy to be able to move on to something really light-hearted and fun, or I'll be looking for another quite difficult book to read. It's a mix of things, and when I start reading them, I should definitely not buy any more books. That's part of the rule, part of the plan. And then I will maybe talk about some of them if I feel like I've got something to say, or just to sort of like a journal or a diary for myself, and just for fun. It's quite nice to ramble on, but it's also horrifying. All right, brilliant.